At County Line, we decided it was important to focus on early intervention in reading, which is why I primarily work with students in kindergarten through second grade. By focusing on early intervention, using intensive, explicit, and systematic instruction, we can close the reading gap before these students reach third grade. Students today do not come to school with the same level of kindergarten readiness as students in the past. As soon as we see a deficit in the foundational skills necessary for learning to read, we need to provide interventions. My students have shown tremendous growth in their foundational skills and are making great progress in reading, but they've also grown in ways that don't show up in assessments. They have gone from being afraid to try for fear of messing up to having more confidence in themselves. Instead of focusing on what is hard for them and telling me that they can't do it, they are applying the strategies they have learned to decode and read. I love to see how excited they become when I tell them we are learning a new sound or that we have a new story to read. I can honestly say that being an academic interventionist has been the most rewarding part of my career. I know I am making a difference and changing lives every day.
I'm helping students with math skills they may have missed during the pandemic using the learning continuum on MAP. I look at the students' data from the MAP test and see what standards they haven't mastered in previous grades. Then we work with those previous grades' math standards and use the learning continuum for math to help them reach their grade level standards. For example, I'm working with some fourth graders on time. The data showed me that they need help on first grade standards for telling time to the hour and the half hour. Then, once we master those standards, we move on to second and third grade standards on time, so that when their fourth grade teacher teaches them about elapsed time and intervals of time, they can more easily understand and succeed on grade level standards. Students have not just shown high growth and high achievement in my groups, they are more confident in their answers and show resilience when they get answers wrong.
I moved from a kindergarten classroom into the academic intervention position. I began with the Fountas and Pinnell Leveled Literacy Intervention Kit. When we dug into the data, I took the students who had the lowest DIPL scores. They were nowhere close to grade level. With my kindergarten phonics background and realizing these students needed so much more than a push in reading levels, I researched the science of reading. There's a small phonics component in the Fountas and Pinnell kit, but these students were lacking in their phonemic foundational skills. I attended the RESA 5 Pillars of Reading class this year in Winterville. That class confirmed to me that these kids who need the most help do not have a great grasp of rhyme, letter sounds, blends, and digraphs. They need additional support in breaking down words into decodable and recognizable chunks. It's really hard to read if you can't decode. You can't successfully decode unless you understand phonics.
At the beginning of the year, because this job was new at Westside, my students were a bit confused as to why they were coming to my room once or twice a week. I could observe reservations, conservation, and an attempt to try and cover up their relative weakness in academics. I observed students who had learned how to cope with their loss in math and ELA skills and were unable and unwilling to ask for help or try on difficult tasks because of their learned helplessness. Throughout the year, as I have kept a pretty consistent schedule of students, I have observed such growth in my students' soft skills and self-advocacy. I get feedback that they are more willing to try in class, they're more vocal about not understanding something, and they're more confident about making mistakes and learning from them. This job has absolutely changed my life. The opportunity I have had in this position to change a student's mind about education and the importance of finding small successes in life has changed my personal view on life itself. The optimism and hope I see in students who run to me and tell me they passed their math test or their HMH test score grew. These kids may not have ever felt that feeling of success before, and it's the most rewarding feeling to know that I got to be part of that experience with them.
I have a unique opportunity to work with students throughout the school day. First, I push into their ELA classrooms to co-teach with the classroom ELA teachers in grades 6 through 8. Together, the classroom teachers and I collaborate to meet the needs of all of our students. We look at assessment data and discuss their struggles as well as their progress to guide our instruction. It is a joint effort with the students' needs at the forefront to help them be most successful. During work sessions, I conference one-on-one or with small groups to assist with their reading comprehension. Afterwards, students come to my classroom to work on the same standards in a small group setting. I reinforce and remediate reading and writing skills according to the needs of our students. At times, I preview a comprehension skill that is forthcoming to give students prior knowledge. I also provide their reading interventions and progress monitoring assessments according to their response to intervention plans. My classroom is a positive learning environment where students safely struggle and strive to make progress. Building positive relationships with these kids has proven effective. They feel more confident and the desire to be successful has returned to them.
In the beginning of the school year, students were resistant to working with us. They were unsure and they believed they can do it on their own. Our data showed that they needed some support and would benefit from our services.
We focused on students setting goals for themselves and helping them understand the steps they needed to take to reach those goals. After about a month of running the program, we saw a shift where students began advocating for themselves and approaching us for assistance and help.
Students would choose to work with us because they recognized the need for guidance and structure.
In addition, students are beginning to hold themselves accountable for their learning. They are understanding what steps they need to take to be successful as individuals.
When it comes down to it, we can push and push, but the student must decide they want to put in the work. Now, when we meet with these students, we can have an honest discussion in which they will own the fact they must do their part.
Seeing them take accountability has been huge.
So when dealing with a school serving nearly 2,000 students, the first and foremost obvious task is identifying which students need the most support, and then figuring out what modes of support the student needs. I ended up with several categories of students to serve. Credit deficient students, extremely credit deficient students, transfer students, fifth-year students, chronically absent students, and currently failing students. Many students ended up falling into several of those categories. It soon became apparent that the most immediate efforts should be allocated for the fourth-year students, as we needed them to graduate in less than a year. This focus on seniors led me to work closely with Allison Kramer, our graduation specialist. As a team, we were able to contact many students on a daily basis, and many will have one-on-one conversations several times a semester with their counselor, their graduation coach, and their academic interventionist. So this arrangement truly creates a culture of support that hasn't existed in any school I've been a part of. So while it's relatively easy to measure the efficacy of my program by doing things like tracking credits recovered, I've realized that the true litmus test for student success is continued success.